Shez, how's it going?
Usual.
Usual. Have you not checked out the feedback we got from our last video? Like people are accusing us of clickbaiting, saying that Max got rattled. Oh my God. God
I,
forbid we say anything like that.
I mean, I think most of our videos are now being labelled as clickbait, which is fair. We are trying to clickbait people. We do want you to watch our videos. Come
We
join.
do. You guys have no idea how hard we work on those titles and those thumbs. I just want to say this, right? Because we have gotten a ton of comments and feedback, and I'm sorry we haven't been able to respond to many of you, but we'll kind of do that here, right? So I just want to kind of Shez, button this up a little bit because I do want to talk about my team. We haven't had the chance to talk, so I've been waiting with bated breath to do so. But in the aftermath of the video that we put out, and we're just looking at the discourse in social media by and large, I think it's fair to say that whether or not Max is rattled or not, certainly the Max Verstappen fans, the Red Bull fans are rattled for sure, man. Like I have never seen fan after fan after fan, tweet after tweet after tweet, post after post after post, putting in long paragraphs with a bunch of figures like, Chess, this is the kind of work I did when I was doing my dissertation, man. I still have PTSD from this, and I thought I was done with it, man. Like, this is crazy. So
It's true.
I just,
None of it is properly referenced either. If you're
none
gonna
of
do it
it is
properly,
probably
if you're
referenced.
gonna do
That's
it
the
properly, there
thing.
has to be like a itemized reference page at the end. Otherwise, you're not doing your
Perfect.
work properly.
Not citing your sources. I mean, those are the kinds of things that give us nightmares. But I just want to say this, guys. I really do. And Shez, I'm going to start here. You're going to be surprised. We haven't talked about this at all. I want to give you credit, Shez. I'm going to give you credit. Ask me why. I know. I
Dare
know
I
he's
ask?
shocked.
Dare I ask why, Ammar?
Shez, in the lead up to this year's season, right? Um, about almost 3 months to the date, you, me, and a friend of our show, Cameron CC, go check him out, Cameron F1. He does a fantastic job. He's really the in the god tier of Formula One content and commentary, right? So you, me, and Cam Shez had a lively, I should say, debate on whether Max Verstappen can be considered a F1 GOAT. It was part of our four-part series. We'll probably drop a link in here. Really, but it and you came on there and you're like, kind of hold the brakes on it, like, right? And this is kind of what you went through. I'm going to paraphrase here for you. 2021, Max was chasing Lewis for the championship, so it was a slightly different season. It went down to the wire. Don't want to relitigate 80-21, but 2022 and 2023, Max had dominant seasons because the Red Bull was quick, and I would argue that everyone else was not, particularly my team Ferrari, that kind of wet the bed after a strong start in 2022. And then last year, Shez, in 24, Max built up a lead and really could have his way with, I suppose you can say now, a not as formidable foe in Lando Norris as Piastri is and as Lewis was, right? You could say that, and we can debate in the margins all of this stuff, but it's fairly clear that that was the case there too. But Chaz, I remember you saying, "Well, hang on a second, wait until Max is put under pressure, and let's see how he responds." And I have to tell you, Shez, I went back and looked at that first corner like 1,700 times. I've never looked back at another corner like this since maybe Monza and watched the whole race at Charles. But whatever, neither here nor there. Shez, I have to admit, I'm going to double down on what I said the other day in our post-race review. Oscar is in Max's head, Shez. He really is. And this is what I'm seeing from Max that is particularly troubling for me. He did what he did at turn one. He lost the turn. I watched that start again and again and again. He had lost the first corner at the start of the race. It was a done deal. And I saw some of the clips from 2021 too, where Lewis was kind of doing the same thing to Max starting P2, but Lewis was way, way, way ahead. And even then, Max tried to kind of dive bomb in that situation, right? So that's exhibit one. Exhibit two is how he behaved with Mohammed bin Sulayem afterwards. He was literally arguing the call right then and there. All right. Number three, I saw him celebrate on the podium and he looked like he didn't want to be there. I'm not even sure you can say he celebrated on the podium. He was just there for the photo ceremonies.
That
Like
that's
he was there
pretty
just,
that's pretty normal for Max Verstappen in
that's pretty
Saudi, though.
normal, right?
In
And, and, and,
Saudi, in Saudi.
and if you look at yeah, yeah, I remember that. And if you look at the way he was behaving there, you would have thought that he lost the championship on the last lap of the race. Oh my God, did I just say that? Oh man, Shez, this is today. Today is like it's like late Easter for you, Shez. Yeah, so that was bad. And then if it wasn't worse,
Don't
I
bring
mean,
me into this.
if it wasn't worse, he kind of put up that pity sort of back and forth in the post race conference. And I have to just tell you, Shez, that this is a little bit unbecoming from a guy that is a four-time champion. And Shez, I have argued that he is already on the Mount Rushmore, but good God, the way he behaved there, that was petulant. Like, look, I'm fine with you as a driver speaking your mind or like not saying anything, but to come on there and just place blame all over the place and then say, I don't really want to say anything because I'm going to get fined or I'm going to get in trouble on social media, that was weak, man. And I'm just going to call it that as is. And all of you that are coming to me in the comments saying, oh, no, Oscar's not in his head. I just want to remind you, he has won 3 out of the 6 races this year. 3 out of the 6. That is crazy. And he could have arguably won Australia too, or at least come in P2. So he would have been way more ahead than he is right now, only by a stroke of luck. I'm just going to tell you guys, all of you Maxeratis there, Oscar's in your head. Oh, there it is, Shez. There it is. It's said. And congrats to you for calling it from 3 months ago, man. Congrats, really.
I don't like this. I don't like that I'm being brought into
What?
this random little feud you're having. But I will agree with you that what was, to me at least, is a fairly slam dunk penalty has been dissected to the nth degree. I agree with you, Ammar. I've seen like threads that are 7 or 8 tweets long with telemetry and video and stills and lines and dots and annotations and it's good. I mean if you have to come up with that much
Yep.
granular evidence to make the argument, I don't think you're right, but also, like, come on, does it really matter? Like, one corner where Max got penalised, and fairly justifiably so, doesn't colour Max as a driver. He's still unbelievably amazing. All of the other great stuff that we have talked about doesn't get thrown in the bin. But I think he perpetuated it a little bit in the race. He perpetuated it even more after the race with the way that he acted. And yes, I don't think that means that the FIA are completely blameless in the way he acted, because they have a lot to answer for. But he used that as a cover, and then Christian Horner coming out with the nonsense that he did has just sparked an entire debate out of nothing, really. For any other driver, I think this just would have been okay. Yep, you're right. That's penalty.
Because
See you
you
later.
and I, as dads, have seen this.
Oh,
We
are
probably
we gonna
see it on
bring we're gonna
average.
bring parenthood into
Yeah,
it? Go.
we're gonna bring parenthood into it, and this was a big old tantrum. That's all it was. It was a tantrum. I get it. Max was so upset that he lost the race. He did not want to talk to anybody. I'm cool with that. No problem. Or if he wanted to give out a bunch of F-bombs, cool. That's fine too. He chose not to do either. That's fine. It was just a tantrum. That's all it is. It's one race. The season is still very, very young. Red Bull are still there. The one thing you guys can take away from this race is that Red Bull are right there, and there's probably going to be more tracks where they will be more competitive, and the McLaren drivers are still competing against each other. So you have everything to play for, Shez. So I just want to say to all of the Maxeratis, the Red Bull mania, right? Whatever you guys call yourselves these days, take a chill pill, guys. Just take a chill pill. And you know what? It's gonna be fine. Max is gonna be in the mix. He's there. He's P2 in the championship. He's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Take a breath. Shaz, can we move on now? Can we move on? Is it done, or you have something more to say?
I do not. I think this
All
one's
right.
been done to death.
This
I'm
one's been
tired of
done
it.
to
I think
death.
everyone's a little bit
Ah,
tired of it. But
all
I'm
right.
happy for anyone that wants to come back at us. We're here. We live for you guys.
That's what we live
So
for.
just
Exactly.
yeah,
All right.
give us your thoughts, and we'll respond to anything you guys say as usual. But we should talk about
Let's
your
do it.
favorite team. Um, yeah, but every time I bring them up, there's always this look of, oh,
Oh,
what's
Shaz. Oh
it's
man.
it's dying swan time. So Ammar, tell me,
Can
just
I level with you, man?
rant away
I don't
again.
know. Shez, this is me back in Tifosi therapy, right? This is what this is. I don't know what to make of it, Shez. I really don't. I just don't. Like, look, I just got telling all the Max fans like they should just take a chip. And good God, I felt like I should be the one fighting for my driver's head. Like, oh my God, I would like to be one of those tweeters, those Facebookers, whatever they are, like posting pages and pages of like, here's why Charles got penalized unfairly and he should have won the race. Oh man. Bittersweet, Chess. I think Ferrari did arguably their best race of the season, although there was a sprint win in there somewhere. Um, yeah, I don't know. I want to ask you, Chess, what should I make of this? You tell me. You do these deep dives. You study everything there. What should I make of this race? Because Charles was P3, and on merit, at least he was very close to the podium. I mean, if Lando had qualified better, it would have been different. But I don't know. Should I be optimistic again? I don't know. Should I dream again or no?
I thought
Or
Leclerc did
just
get a
in the pond.
podium, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He did. I mean, I'm just accounting for the fact that like let's say Lando had qualified where he should have, he would have still been out of the podium. So,
Yeah. I
I
don't know.
mean, I get it.
Charles seems like a glass half empty kind of guy at the moment, but he's performing super well. I saw a crazy stat that said that he's the only driver in F1 history that's never been beaten by his teammate in qualifying and in races over the course of their careers. Pretty impressive. And he is driving really really well, which I think should make you happy. It makes me happy to watch him. But it would be nicer, yes, to see him in a fight. And we got to see a little bit of that on Sunday. The Ferrari's characteristics of being a little bit kinder on its tyres over the long run, which I'm not sure Ferrari necessarily expected to happen, but that's what they got. In clear air, certainly allowed him to nab a podium. I think he's driving fantastically well, really, really well. And it is in stark contrast to his teammate, who after the race said, yeah, I've got no idea. It's going to be like this now for the rest of the season. What am I supposed to do? I have no way out of this. And again, this is coming off the back of post Japan, where Lewis is like, there's something missing on my car that we're going to fix. It's going to be sorted. And then once that's done, I'm going to start progressing forward. But that hasn't really happened. He qualified 6/10 off of Charles in Saudi. He was about 6/10 off him in Bahrain as well. So there's a bit of a pattern forming. And it's always fun to look at telemetry. So I'm going to do that again. And somebody in our comments after qualifying on Saturday had asked for a little bit more explanation about what it is that we're actually looking at. So I think this is a good trace to do that on, because actually the differences between the two drivers are quite marked. So let's just have a little look at why Lewis might be struggling, especially in qualifying over one lap, to extract the best that he can from this Ferrari. Here we go. So this is Sector 1 in Jeddah, 2025. We've got two traces, one in red, which is Charles Leclerc, and one in white, which is Lewis Hamilton. The way that you look at the graphs, we've got four separate headings. At the top, we've got speed. So this is how fast the car is going at any particular time. And along the horizontal axis, the x-axis, you've got distance along the track. So any point along the track, this is how fast each driver is going. You can see that that's measured in kilometers per hour. The next one is the delta. So the delta is just what the difference is between the two drivers, who's faster and who's slower. So Charles had the quicker lap, so he gets a straight red line, and Lewis's time, his delta, the difference in his time at any particular point across the lap, is either above slower or below faster that red line. Does that make sense? So if the white line is below the red line, Lewis was faster. If the white line is above the red line, then Lewis was slower. And then you've got the throttle and brake traces. They're fairly self-explanatory. So again, as you're moving along the lap, this shows you, the throttle trace shows you in percentage terms how much throttle the driver is applying. So at the top of that graph, it's 100%. So that's when they're applying full throttle, like they're on a straight. And if the line drops to the bottom of the graph, it's 0%. They've taken their foot off the accelerator completely. And then there's grades in between that. So if they're only putting half throttle on, then the trace will only be halfway up that graph. And brakes tend to be, and I think I saw something in some of the telemetry traces that were put up on social media, where people were saying, well, brakes aren't just on or off. Well, in a racing car, yeah, they are. In general, they stamp on the brakes as hard as they can, and then they come off them. That sort of act of coming off the brakes just shows itself on the telemetry as them being off the brakes. So in reality, all you see is on or off. Does that make sense? So what can we actually see in this graph? So Lewis's magic has always been in slow corners. Ammar, stop yawning. Lewis's magic has always been in slow corners, right? So the first corner, turn 1 and 2, you can see that actually Lewis approaches that corner slightly faster. So he's had a really good exit off of the final corner on the warm-up lap, and he is slightly faster at the end of the straight. You can see that on the speed trace here, and on the delta he approaches slightly faster than Charles does. He comes off the throttle and brakes a bit earlier than Charles does, marginally off the throttle, but quite significantly on the brakes. But you can see that he overlaps the throttle and the brake. That's what he does. That's how he likes to approach a corner. He likes to go in with a huge amount of energy, braking really hard, coming and combining braking and throttle on the way into the corner. That's how he gets the rotation. And it pays him back here, actually. Like he's actually a bit quicker than Charles in the first phase of that corner. Charles, what he does is that he comes off the throttle a bit more gently and brakes for less time, but he's feathering the throttle much more. So there's much more play between the throttle and the brake in that corner, and he prioritizes mid-corner speed. You can't really see it in this low-speed corner here. It will become more apparent a bit later. But he prioritizes mid-corner speed, whereas Lewis is much happier to just shed speed and make up that time again with a better exit. And he does that here. So he has actually a better exit coming out of the corner, out of turn 2 and into turn 3. He picks up the throttle slightly earlier than Charles does. And again, you can see that the delta dips below Charles' line. He's quicker down the straight towards turn 4 than Charles is. Better exit, better corner overall, low speed. That's where Lewis has his magic. But it's in medium and the high speed corners where he starts to come unstuck, in this car at least. And you can see this most starkly in turn 4. So that's the next corner. So that's here. That's the next big dip in speed is turn 4, which I've highlighted here. And you can see that Lewis has much less confidence here. He comes off the throttle and hits the brakes much earlier. He has the brakes on for longer than Charles does, whereas Charles comes off the throttle for less time, comes onto the brakes for less time. And he seems to be playing much more with the balance, using the brake and the throttle against each other. Again, prioritizing that mid-corner speed. So you can see here that he has a higher mid-corner speed, and consequently he's also able to apply the throttle earlier, more aggressively than Lewis does. Now Lewis, the other thing that he talked about was that I don't understand the engine braking in this car. Right, it's much more aggressive than it was in the Mercedes. Now Stuart Codling, if you read Autosport, talked about what that does. So a more aggressive engine braking leads to understeer, and I think that's what Lewis is doing in this corner. He's engine braked, he's had more aggressive engine braking. It's induced a bit of understeer, and what that's meant is he's had to hit the brake harder, keep it on for longer to just get the car to tuck into the corner in the first place, so that he can actually get through it. Whereas Charles is playing with the throttle and the brake to induce a bit of oversteer that allows him to dance his way through the corner. Lewis is much more blunt with the tools at his disposal. But what that does, that understeer then induces a bit of oversteer at the exit of the corner. So what you can see at the exit is where Charles is able to aggressively apply the throttle, Lewis has to come off the throttle, where I think he's having a little moment because of that exit oversteer. That costs him time as well. And you can see the upshot of that is that along the following straight, it's not really a straight, it's 5 and 6, which are sort of full throttle sweepers. Charles just has far more speed. The next sort of point at which they have to make a decision about what they're going to do with their throttle and brake is into turn 7. So again, you can see turn 7 here. And again, look at the speed trace. Charles prioritises mid-corner speed and he has more of it. Lewis, you'd expect actually that with his throttle trace, he comes off the throttle a bit less going into the corner and a bit less on the way out than Charles does. Actually, Charles is doing the same thing that he did before. Lewis has a massive lift in the middle of the corner, brakes a bit later, whereas Charles has an earlier braking moment but comes off the throttle less, again dancing his car through that corner in a way that Lewis just doesn't seem to be able to do. And again, that means that on exit he's able to apply the throttle a bit more aggressively, uses the brakes again to balance the car, and again has a better exit heading towards turn 13. Right, back to us again. That's a long-winded sort of look at the telemetry. I hope it was helpful, but I hope it also helps to sort of understand why Lewis is struggling. He just doesn't seem to have the confidence in the car to dance it through the high speed corners, even if he's still able to display some of his magic in the lower speed corners. And that, I think, is where he's losing. This is a formula now where the high speed corners, being able to live with a bit of high speed oversteer, allows you to dial in a bit more oversteer for the lower speed corners. It means that you're able to dance with the car a bit more in the way that Charles is, even though you've got a looser rear end in the high speed corners. That gives you the ability to dance the car in lower speed corners. But Lewis just isn't able to do that here. He's not able to live with that high speed instability. That's what I'm feeling anyway. It's marginal, but that's what you can see in the data. And it costs him with understeer and then oversteer in the lower speed corners when he gets to them. The problem, and that I think is why he's struggling, and maybe that engine braking that's inducing a bit of understeer into the lower speed corners is exacerbating that more. Maybe once he gets used to that, he can dial out a bit of that understeer. But I think where he's talking about, look, I'm not going to be able to solve this for the next 19 races, he's talking about that from the point of view that, look, Ferrari aren't going to be able to change their power unit, so I'm just going to have to live with this characteristic. This isn't an age thing. This isn't because he's washed, because he's over 40 and he's lost qualifying pace. I know that's what's gonna come in the comments. If that were the case, I would see sort of really, really small hundredths of a second, tenths of a second difference to Charles, because fundamentally he'd still have some speed. If it was, this is more of a fundamental apposition to the car. He just can't get on with the car. What he's saying in the press conference and in the pen after races is exactly what you can see on the data as well. That kind of margin is because he's just not getting on with the car for the reasons that I'm hoping that you can see on the telemetry. How do you fix that? I don't know. Is it so much of a problem when Ferrari aren't right up at the front in the way that Max Verstappen is with his teammates, where the Red Bull is up at the front winning races? Is it so much of a problem when the Ferrari isn't doing that? Maybe not. Maybe that buys him a bit of time. But this can't go on. This isn't what Ferrari signed him for. It's not what he turned up at Ferrari to do. And it's going to make the noise louder and louder and louder as we get through the season if he doesn't come up with some answers. I hope he does. I hope he gets used to it. But that's where we're at. Ammar, look, this is me as a Lewis fan talking about the telemetry, talking about the problems that I see. But you are a Ferrari fan. I'm sure you want to see Lewis do well for your own reasons. I'm sure you want Charles to be up at the front, winning race after race after race in a way that we haven't seen from him at Ferrari. What are the answers?
Oh, good God. If someone can predict what Ferrari can do in a season, no one can. Shez, I just want to ask you with all of the telemetry and analysis that you did, you've done some of this in the last couple of years too. How different or similar is this to Lewis's struggle in Mercedes? I mean,
Very, very similar. Very similar. If you go right back to some of the videos that we did last year, I think we did one actually. We did a telemetry video about George versus Lewis in Jeddah last year. Jeddah just seems to be an awful track for Lewis. But it was the same thing. Through those high speed S's after turn 4, George just seemed to have so much more confidence in the rear end of the car, where Lewis just doesn't. He's having to lift big. He can't dance the car through those corners. He gets snaps of oversteer at the exit of the slower corners. There's just no confidence that the car's going to stick for him in a way that George is just able to live with better. And I do think that there's, the newer drivers that are really at the top of their game in Formula One right now, their driving style seems to fit much better with what these ground effect cars require. That early turn in, to loosen up the rear end, living with that rear end, dancing that into the apex of the corner, getting the car as straight as possible, as early as possible, to then shoot out of the corner. That's what gives you that higher minimum speed. That's not how Lewis goes racing. He said it himself. I don't like that. I don't want to roll the speed in. I don't want to turn in early. I want to be able to brake late and hard, sacrifice mid-corner speed for an early, quick exit where the rear is planted and I can just traction my way out of the corner. That's the philosophy that the Mercedes car had for the longest time. They were happy to have a slightly more understeery car in the high speed corners because Lewis can make up the difference and quell that understeer in the low speed corners by that aggressive over rotation. But the car just won't let him do that in this rule set. So as I say, it's not an age thing. For me, this is fundamentally showing the same thing that he had at Mercedes.
So then is it fair to say that these new generation of Formula One cars are just not something that Lewis has adapted to? I mean, you now have, what is it, one, two, three, four, and what is it, one quarter of a season, right? It's pretty much the same struggle, right? So if there's a theme here, the theme is that I hate to kind of say it this way, is that he's just not comfortable with this generation of cars. Like it could it not be as simple as that? I mean, I get that the engine braking that Ferrari has is more aggressive and therefore could have issues, but
Yeah, I mean
the
that's
overall pattern is not,
ultimately, as Lewis Hamilton fans, I think we all have to have our glasses half full a little bit. That if he gets on top of the engine braking side of things and can quell that understeer, yes, that might be part of the reason that he's so far behind. I still don't think he's quite got to the bottom, or we've got quite to the bottom of why he was so good in the sprint on lower fuel in China. Yes, that's the difference. He had lower fuel at the beginning of that race than he did at the beginning of this race, but it doesn't explain why he can't get the best out of it over one lap. It doesn't explain why on high fuel, he said it himself, in high fuel, it just doesn't do anything for me. So that's a bit of a hope. I guess the other big hope is that we've got another technical rule set change coming in 2026. He's there for at least one season of that. Is this misery that he's just going to have to live with for this season because there's a hope that things will be better next year? But is that what we wanted to see from Lewis in his first season with Ferrari? Certainly not what I wanted to see, not what I think most Lewis Hamilton fans wanted to see.
I mean, to be fair, Shez, to myself here, I did tell you that this would be a bit of a struggle, right? I mean, having lived with the team, this was not going to be easy, and I think you saw some of the struggles that Carlos had too. I did not expect, though, for Lewis to be this far away right? And so for me, the instinct is the engine braking pattern that Ferrari has compared to Mercedes probably contributes some, but I cannot imagine that it contributes so much that it explains a 6/10 gap. And I would say if you even if you sort of zoom out from the technicalities and the details of this, right? Lewis looks generally dejected, where Charles looks somewhat optimistic. I mean, and so I mean, even that tells you everything that there is. And just keep in mind, Shez, this season started with a lot of hope and promise for Lewis because he was saying all the right things in the first couple of races, right? He said, "Look, I'm still trying to gel in with the team. I'm still trying to figure out the car, communication, etc." We had episodes of that all over, right? So there was that, and so certainly Ferrari didn't do him any favors in Melbourne, for example, right? But uh, if what you're saying is true, Shez, this is going to be a long season. We're sitting here talking about this in April. The season doesn't end until damn near December. That's going to be a lot of time. That's a lot of time. And Shez, if he was dejected last year, as in Lewis was, right? And we heard everything from him coming out in those press conferences. I did not have on my bingo card listening to all of that in like really after the fifth race of the season. Like it's just crazy, man. I can't explain it. I just can't. And I don't know that anyone can. So yes, maybe age is not a factor. Um, I don't know. I can't explain why that is the case, but it just seems like he is struggling with this generation of cars. That seems to be the only plausible thing that you can take away because you can look at 4.25 years of data. And I don't think it's going to get any better. Like, look, Ferrari are going to try to bring in some improvements to kind of get themselves closer to McLaren and Red Bull. But are you sure that they're bringing anything fundamentally different that would suddenly help Lewis feel a lot better? I don't know. I don't know. I don't. And by the way, they changed a lot of this car keeping him in mind. I know that it was not he who asked for it, but they changed the car, and
Come on, there's
to
no
help
evidence.
suit him as well.
There's no evidence of that.
Come on,
No,
you know that. I mean, that
I
was a
mean,
car that was a
no,
good
but there's no,
second in
no
the championship last year.
but
Like,
there's no evidence that they changed the car for him.
I'm not blaming it on him, but
But there was nobody at that team before he got there.
no, but
That was able to.
they knew.
Yeah,
But Chaz,
they
even
never
you
had
and I
him.
know that.
Yeah, but Ammar,
Yeah,
they
but
never
they.
had him in the car.
I agree,
So
but I'm not saying that.
how can they
I'm not
change the
saying.
car for him?
I'm not saying that.
We might as well use this as a point to talk about designing a car for a driver. No team on the grid
I
can change their characteristics for a driver. A driver melds with a car and makes it quicker, and the team then follow that development path.
Fair enough.
That's how that goes. So there's no way that they would have changed the car to accommodate Lewis. They would have built the fastest car they could. In fact, Fred Vasseur and Enrico Cardile, before he left, said, "We have reached a ceiling with this car. We cannot take it any further." That's why they made the changes that they did. It wasn't because Lewis Hamilton's coming into the car into the car. Like any team doing that would be completely foolish, and they would have dropped off far more than what they have if that's what they had decided to do. I just want to put that out there. But
you know what?
continue.
Fair point to you. Fair point to you. I was not trying to imply that they changed the car for Lewis Hamilton, but they did change the car. They changed the car that was second, arguably a championship winning car, team constructors championship, by the way. It was right there at the end of the last race. So I'm not sure that that's entirely true. Look, I don't know exactly why they changed that car, Shez, but they did change some things with keeping Lewis in mind. Look, the upshot of this is, Shez, I don't know that this season it has any hope for Lewis because of the way he has approached this. His words, his body language, his comments after every session suggest to me that he is going to need a lot more time with this car to get up there. And I actually cannot even see a race win in the mix, given how dominant McLaren are, given how on it Max is. And even I would put George Russell's chances of winning a race and maybe even Kimi Antonelli's ahead of Lewis the way things are going right now because those guys are working under no pressure. But I don't know what to say, man. It does. I will just kind of sort of step away from the Lewis Hamilton stuff here. And in the hands of Charles Leclerc, that Ferrari seems to have it on race day. The problem is they're qualifying so far behind. I mean, and it's only P4, but not being on the front row, not being P1, I think is hurting them. So I don't know if Ferrari could have hung on to a race lead had they qualified first. Certainly seems marginal in terms of being able to kind of do that. And maybe with the upgrades that come in and Imola in a couple of races, maybe they can be in the mix here. But I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel for Lewis as of right now. I hate to kind of be all doom and gloom.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just don't agree that they created the car for Lewis. I mean,
Okay, I told you it's
but
okay.
also changing the car, they again,
Well,
ceiling of performance. And look at what McLaren have done. It's not like they've turned up with exactly the same car that they ended with last season. The amount of anti-dive and anti-squat they've put into their mechanical platform is a world away from what they did last year. If Ferrari had just stuck with what they had done last year, because they were like, well, we were second in the constructors, I think they would have been further behind this season. And that's
that would
the
have been
game.
totally like Ferrari too,
That's
by
the
the way.
game you play in Formula One. That the moment you sit still is the moment you get left
No,
behind.
I'm not suggesting they would have sat still, but
But
they also
that's what
didn't
you're
need to change,
asking to
according
do.
to Fred, 99% of the
Yeah,
car.
but
Like
you're
that's
reading that
this.
99% of the car as, oh, they completely changed the
No,
total
it's not
fundamental
completely
concept of
changed.
the car. But that's what you're trying to imply, which is
No,
not
but
what they
what I'm
did.
saying, what I'm trying to say, Shez, is it's neither it's at neither extreme, Shez. It's not that they just
So
would have sat
so they
still,
have to
and it's not that
change.
they would have changed everything. Yes, but
So they have to change
but you're
something,
telling me
and they have
that
to keep certain things the same, which is what
but
they've done. But
they
you're
kept that in
saying,
mind with the future in mind. If Carlos was there, I don't know, it could have been looked at in a little bit differently.
I think that's
Look,
very unlikely. I think that
Loic Sarah is coming from Mercedes is has nothing
but
to
the
do with
car was
Carlos
but
being
the
there,
car
right?
was
No, so
locked. The car was locked in before Loic Serra got there. He came halfway through last season. He was on gardening leave up until then.
I don't disagree with it. I'm just
So
saying that
so what bit of your argument says that Ferrari changed their car for Lewis Hamilton and that they shouldn't
I
have
did not
changed
say
their
they
car?
changed it for Lewis
You
Hamilton.
did
I
say
said
that.
that I said that they changed the car keeping Lewis's
In mind,
arrival in mind too.
i.e., they changed
And
the car for
it's
Lewis
not like
Hamilton. Like,
Lewis is the only guy. No,
don't
that's not
play
what I
with
said.
words here.
I don't what do you mean playing with words? They obviously have a better driver in Charles. Like that's not disputable right now. So I mean, look, fine,
So they
whatever
haven't.
you want to say.
They've not
They changed it
disadvantaged
with Charles
Charles.
in mind, and clearly Charles is making it work, and hopefully Charles will make it work into a few race wins because good God, that's all I have to hope for now in this rule set. So it's a
Yeah,
big fat F for Ferrari in terms of the whole thing too, and it's a big fat F for Lewis too. I don't know what else you can look at with that. And these are his words, by the way. Like this is not us prognosticating or anything like that. This is
yeah,
him saying that he doesn't
sure,
know. He needs a brain transplant for crying out loud. Whose brain is he gonna put in there? Toto Wolf? Are you kidding me? Like what are you talking about there?
right. So okay,
Russell.
what I'm getting from this is
So
ultimately that Ferrari do need to improve, but
well, I
that's just where they find themselves with the concept that they've
well, this is every
got.
year, Shez,
Yeah, sure, but it was the same at the beginning of last
and I
season
don't
as
know. I
well.
mean, look, we can talk about this. I mean, look, the only thing they have to hinge on is this technical directive in Spain, right? And to see if McLaren are actually going to fall off this proverbial cliff that everyone thinks. And I know it's not really a cliff. It's all going to be marginal, even if it is.
I don't think that's going to make any difference.
Yeah.
So
But you do have to wait and see, right?
So
You
I
have to
was
kind of
looking
do.
at some of the onboards during the race, and when they were locking into the front wing, I know this is completely and utterly baseless, but you could see on the McLaren that actually in the straights and in the corners, actually the front wing didn't flex that much, and when you looked at it side by side with the Mercedes front wing, actually the Mercedes was flexing far more. Like you could see the front wing elements flexing far more. So to me, if that is a pattern, that suggests that actually the technical directive coming in Spain is going to make zero difference here.
And that may not be the case too. And so Ferrari are going to have to decide if they really want to be in it for this year or move forward to next year too, which could mean one of two things. They do not bring any more developments or go the car is essentially the same for the rest of this year.
I
And
think
I don't know how Lewis gets over his struggles.
I think
Or
nobody.
even if they do change it, Chaz, I don't know what they changed to kind of make him happy. I mean, he sounds like he needs a different kind of car. I don't know. I
Well,
don't know
that's
what
why we're not in the team.
Alpine maybe?
Yeah,
Us?
yeah. I mean, this is why we're not in the team. Ultimately,
Should
that's
Ferrari be getting Russell in 26? Is that are we missing out? What are we
yeah,
doing here?
maybe. I think Charles will probably have a fairly stern test if that's what they do.
Ooh!
But I definitely don't think that Charles has suddenly been disadvantaged by this car.
I did not say that. I did not say that.
Pretty sure I heard
No,
you
I
say
did not
they've
say that.
taken a
Look,
lot of
again,
ideas that Lewis Hamilton
let's rewind.
wanted.
Let's rewind.
And maybe if Carlos had been here, then Charles would
Well,
be
what?
doing better than if Lewis was here. I don't really understand how that
Let me help you.
logic
Let me
works.
help you. Let me
Please
help you
explain your
understand.
logic.
This pressure that's on Lewis Hamilton is gigantic, and I think he underestimated what was going to be there because when you're associated with Ferrari, man, there is nothing like it. Whatever he was feeling in Mercedes, it was called LH and whatever. That's about it. When you come to Ferrari, it all changes. So for him to come up there, show up race after race, and kind of give this dejected messaging two races after winning a sprint race and sounding all great and bubbly and all that, that is unbecoming. And that is the pressure that he's being felt. So whether Ferrari designed a car with him in mind, with Charles in mind, with both of them in mind,
Or just
clearly
with
they wouldn't have done,
just with the
or
idea of
just
bringing
even,
the
yeah,
fastest car, which is what
and
every
bringing the
Formula One
fastest car.
team does.
Of course they do. But we know that Ferrari have a track record of doing it, kind of this way. That's not how they do things. But you know that, and well, maybe you didn't know that, and now you do. And so now Lewis is learning firsthand what all of that means. All of that aura, so to speak, it's all gone. It's all gone. Can you believe it only took 5 races for all of that to vanish? Poof, just like that. My point is, they should back Charles for the rest of the way. See if they can give him a chance to win the championship or not,
Okay,
because
yeah,
it ain't Lewis Hamilton.
backing Charles means building a faster car, but that also
Agreed.
helps Lewis. The fundamental thing here is not about backing one driver over the other. They're not backing
There's no
Lewis.
need to
They're
back
not.
Charles right now.
They're
He's
not.
doing it
They're
by
not
himself. You're
suddenly
right.
backing Lewis. But
100% correct.
the best way for Charles Leclerc to win a title in 2025 is if Ferrari build a faster car.
Yes, I
It's
agree.
as simple
I
as
agree.
that.
I agree,
So
but
bringing in backing one driver or the other
but
is completely irrelevant.
yes, here's why it's irrelevant, right? Building a faster car for Charles is different than building a faster car for Lewis. Why? There's a 6/10 worth of
Again,
difference there. They're gonna have to build
let's
something that goes
okay,
6/10 faster
okay,
versus
okay,
going a 2 or 3
okay,
tenths faster
okay.
for the other guy. That's my point.
Okay, let's just understand this. A team do not build a car to
That really
complement
seems to have gotten under you, doesn't it?
a particular driver's strengths. They build the fastest car they can, and if
Yes,
one
Shez.
driver gets on with that, they will continue down that development path. So if Charles continues to meld with this car, they will continue to go down that development path, and hopefully that will build a faster and faster car, and that will help Charles more and more to the detriment of Lewis. That's fine, but that's not building a car for Charles. That's just building the fastest car they can.
Did you say no Formula One team builds a fast car with a particular driver in mind?
Correct.
Have you talked to Christian Horner at
Yes,
all?
I
Because
have.
I'm
So
just
again,
gonna
I
say.
knew you were going to
Just
say
gonna say
that. I
again.
knew you were going
Again.
to say
I mean,
that.
look at that.
So-
That ain't a.
so-
I mean,
so-
I'm the idiot here, but
So I would argue that you are anyway. So
you don't have to argue. I am an idiot.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So again, that has happened at Red Bull specifically because Max got the best out of that car, so they continued down that development path. But they've gone so far down that development path that nobody else can drive that car. That's not them building the car for Max. That's Max just getting on with the car, making it fast, and them going, well, if that works, we'll just keep going down that route. That is what Ferrari will probably do with Charles. And that's what they
Yeah.
should do with
And-
Charles.
and
But
that's
that
why
is
this-
not the same as building a car specifically for a
we're
driver.
still stuck. We're still stuck
because,
there. Aren't we?
Ammar, you're making the point that they should favour one driver over the other, and I am saying that it's not about favouring one driver or the other. They just need to make a faster car, and if that's the car that Charles gets on with, great. If Lewis also gets on with that car and it makes him faster, that's not them having suddenly diverted attention towards Lewis. They've just made a car that helps both drivers.
Well, whether you think-
That's how to look at. That's how you're supposed to look at that.
You are 100% correct.
Thank
And
you.
again,
Thank you.
I made a slight error in suggesting that, good God, I suggested that they would have built a car keeping Lewis in mind, as they would have kept Charles in mind too, because they wouldn't have had to keep Carlos in mind. That was the point I was trying to make. And yet
But
Lewis
I'm
has
telling you,
not
they
delivered.
can't do that. They can't
I know,
build
but
a car specifically.
but
for Carlos's
Shez, we
strengths or
know
Charles' strengths. They just
but they
build
have
the
to keep
fastest car
certain
they can.
character. Are you, Shez? they have to keep certain characteristics in mind. I'm not saying they're building a whole car asking Lewis Hamilton, what's on your wish list, man? Do you want the nose to look this big? Do you want
Because they wouldn't
That's
be
not
able
the
to do
point.
that anyway.
I know, but my point is, I'm not saying that. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that they kept okay, fine. Forget it. You know what? You're 100%
I
correct.
know.
I'm 100% wrong.
I know.
But good God, just ask Lewis how he feels about how he's racing right now. So if maybe
Yeah, I
Ferrari could
agree.
have given his wish list of a car, and even that wouldn't have worked out too.
But then it
Because
would
that's
just
where
would have
we're
been a
at right now.
slow. It would have been a slow,
Yeah, I mean,
crappy
whatever.
car. So
So, I
what's the
mean,
point in that?
evidently he can't drive this car. So, and he can't drive the Mercedes of last year or the year before or the year
And that
before or the year before. So,
and that
I
is
don't know what to do
that
now.
is Lewis's problem that he has to get
Yeah.
on top of.
So that's it.
But anyway, yeah.
So maybe Haas. Haas is
I
it.
think
That's
we
it.
both agree with that.
I agree with you. Like I said, I even raised my hand up.
But
Sorry, man. I made a mistake.
but Ferrari's game plan should just be build a faster car. Anyway, right. I think we've
For
taken that to the. If you understood what I was saying, if you understood what Ammar was saying, please like, please subscribe, please drop us a comment. We'll read every single one. We will respond to as many as we possibly can. I hope that this has fulfilled everyone's need and want for something other than the turn 1 penalty from the last race. Apologies for covering that in as much detail as we did. We will see you guys in the next one.
Later.